Back is still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guest of the day. I am now joined by the Pro Tem Secretary General of the Nation Coalition for Peace and Unity, Cairo Ojougboh, addressing electoral violence. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now, first, congratulations on the victory of the presidential candidate of your party. How would you assess this exercise?
Well, let me make this very clear. The National Coalition for Peace and Unity is a bipartisan organization, and is made up of leaders from every segment and constituency in the country, including traditional rulers, including captains of industry, and including the clergy. And when we speak on the issue of peace, we don't talk party politics, but I accept the congratulations and I thank you because the coalition, as a matter of fact, we have called to congratulate all Nigerians, everybody who participated, all the candidates, all the parties, all the observers who monitored the election, the INEC, and in fact, the voters, because it is a very huge task and a very huge operation to have the election settled. So our congratulations goes to the entire segment of the country. Thank you very much.
All right. So then, what are your expectations for the Tinubu presidency?
Well, first and foremost, the important thing right now is to be able to carry everybody along and make peace. The first thing to do is to make sure that all the contestants, the entire populace, everybody is carried along in the affairs of state. Once that is done, then the candidate can go out and pursue his ambition and his programs. Because if there is no peace, he will be distracted. So the peace and unity is sine qua non for the development of any country. So the coalition is calling on him, advising him to seek peace. Seek peace and seek peace. We want to make sure that the youths, whom of course the Ojougboh has spoken about very copiously in his 2 addresses since being declared, that he has heard them loud and clear. They are the leaders of the youths and the persons, the organizations that these youths belong to. The Ojougboh should be able to reach them as quickly as possible and then unfold his program that, like he has done before, to ensure that they will give him the rest of mind, the peace that is needed for the country to move forward. Once that is done, every other thing he needs to do will succeed properly. I take, for instance, he has said it for a lot of times, that the thing he's going to do is to completely remove subsidy, petroleum subsidy. For you to do that, you are going to have a lot of problems from the unions, Pengasen and the rest of them. You are going to have a lot of issues with the youths. And the only way he will succeed is to be able to reach peace with his constituency, his immediate constituency, the politicians, and then make sure that he's able to make peace with the students, make peace with the unions, make peace within the petroleum industry. Now, his job is a little bit easier that the PIA is now active. So it lessens his burden, and then it makes it easier for him to be able to achieve what is necessary. Of course, even even when I was the chairman House Committee on Petroleum Resources from 2023 to 2007, I proposed that the progress of this country, I proposed then, because that was the first time the Petroleum Act was being reviewed for 60 years. And the first thing we did, and what we succeeded in passing that act, unfortunately, the Senate did not concur. And that led to the PIB, the Petroleum Industries Bill. And what we emphasized then was the total deregulation of the downstream, and to ensure that we enhance, give value to our oil production. Give value in the sense that it is not good, it's not really unheard of that the best crude that is available on the surface of the planet is in Nigeria. And we cannot refine it. We send it out of the country, they refine it, add value to it, and return it to Nigeria. And we pay a lot for it. So this is one of the biggest problems we have in this industry, in this country. And various governments have not had the political will to deregulate the downstream industry.
All right, Mr. Cairo.
For that Jagaban, 1 minute please, for Jagaban to be able to do it, he needs peace. That is the essence of the National Coalition for Peace and Unity.
All right. Now, another thing to look at pockets of violence recorded at some polling stations. Can we ever have elections devoid of violence?
Again, that is the second leg of the National Coalition for Peace and Unity. And what we have tried to do and what we have been doing is to educate and encourage the youth. Because when you have violence in polling units, it is the youth that are usually involved. You don't get senior citizens going to snatch ballot boxes. You don't get senior citizens going to shoot guns at polling units. So again, this is very, very necessary for us to be able to completely eliminate violence in the polling units. How do we do that? We need to educate the masses. And when you educate the masses, you empower them. When you empower them, they now know they no longer become handy tools for people who want to rig elections to manipulate them and to use them to rig elections. Again, that is where the coalition is intent in reaching the grassroots to educate the youth that anytime you are used to propagate violence at the grassroots, you are impinging on your personal progress and the progress of the society and the progress of the country. That you do not represent the interests of anybody apart from the interests of your sponsor. And that the coalition especially has been appealing to the sponsors of violence to drop the idea. Because in any election, there must always be one winner. And if that one winner thinks that is a total winner, he has missed the way. Because for every election, all participants are victorious. According to the adage of His Excellency General Gowon, he said, no victory, no vanquished. And that is how we want the politicians and the masses and everybody to see this election. The good thing about this election is that it has established something that Nigerians want to hear and want to see. That is, it has become a convention that the presidency will now rotate between the North and the South. And that is a huge achievement. So for the youth in the Southeast, the coalition, we want to reach out to them, to tell them next time it will be their turn. We want to tell the youth of the Southwest that a Southwestern citizen has won this election does not mean and should not be taken that they are superior to others. We want to also encourage the youth of the North not to feel offended or feel angered by the development. Because it has now become traditional, it has now become, by this election, it has now become a convention. Therefore, we continue to preach for peace. Right. We continue to preach for unity. We want to tell our religious leaders not to speak violence in their preachings, in their various churches and the mosque. We want to reach our businessmen not to target anybody based on the person's belief in politics. We want to tell the hosts of communities, especially in the Southwest, not to feel angered that persons that they feel are non-indigenous voted against them. That is not part of democracy. That's not the part of decency. That's not part of humanity. In human beings, for us to have civilization and development, we must encounter different opinions, we must accommodate them, and we must allow peace to reign.
All right.
When you don't do well in an event, in one event, you wait. Another opportunity will come. Look at.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cairo. Thank you very much for that. But another worrisome challenge is vote suppression, which is common in our elections. For you, how do we put an end to this?
So which one?
Vote suppression.
Vote suppression?
Yes.
Yes, that is the part of the rigging that the political parties should be spoken, that we must educate the political parties to be able to handle that issue. One, vote suppression is a technical way of depriving persons who are very popular in an area from having their votes, from harvesting their votes. And it's very, very effective in rigging elections. So what happens? If you have a peaceful mind, if you have some God in you, you should know that you must allow people to do what is right, and what is right to allow every man's vote to count. You must not prevent people from casting their votes. I take, for instance, a gentleman in a part of the country. He went to collect his voter's card, and he was told that you have such a name, so we will not give you your voter's card. And he was not given. This is one major way of vote suppression, and that is where INEC has to be also properly schooled to know that they cannot allow such things to continue. And that is why the coalition is planning a meeting with both INEC, all the participants in the election, all segments, and everybody concerned, so that the wrongs of this particular election can be well synthesized, so that everybody who has gone wrong in one way or the other will note where he has gone wrong. And especially, we want to also comment on INEC's feeling that, look, they have some days to look at what they have done. And we believe that right now they are looking at it, and they will come out with any of the issues they feel they have gone wrong. And we must pray that we are able to come out of it, and so that the next 4 years will be peaceful, so that this country.
Finally, before we go, Mr. Cairo, is cancelling votes at polling stations characterized by violence the solution, given that sometimes political thugs deliberately take violence to the strongholds of their opponents? Does this not amount to rewarding the aggressor?
Well, what happens is that, again, it's another part of vote suppression. You know that you are not strong in an area and you are losing. So you now cause war in that particular unit. You go there, either snipe the boss, like what was done in some part of my state. Some persons, when they were counting the result, the votes, they snatched the ballot box. And where a candidate had about 200, 300 votes, They went and double thumb printed them. So, for instance, if Party Z had 200 votes, then they will take the pad and then do double thumb printing on the voter. So when you count it, you say, okay, these ones are disallowed. It happened. And so what the coalition did is to note it in our report. And we are going to speak about it. And that, you, just like you have rightly said, when you go and count votes or you reward areas where the violence took place in a unit, you have rewarded the perpetrators of the violence. Again, the National Assembly is there to look at it, so that in the review of the Electoral Act next time, they will note it. You know, there were a lot of things in this Electoral Act that didn't go down well. For instance, the number of persons that constituted the electoral colleges were quite small this time. It did not end. The makers of the Electoral Act even disenfranchised themselves because there were some mistakes that were not taken note of as at the time the Electoral Act was being passed. I give you an instance. In the last primaries of in the Electoral Act, members of the National Assembly and members of the former National Assembly were not part of the Electoral College, and which caused a lot of problems. So these are the things that the coalition we have looked at and we are looking at. We are coming up with a report on what actually happened in this election, so that it will now guide the future election. So that if INEC is going to make any adjustment, it will.
Mr. Cairo, can you quickly submit, sir? We have very few seconds to go on the show.
First of all, let me thank you for even giving me this opportunity. That is, in fact, you have done very well. But in concluding, I want to assure you that the coalition will work very hard. The coalition is calling on everybody who took part in this election, especially the candidates, to please, anything they want to do, they must have peace and preach peace. And they should reach out to their followers to encourage them not to participate in anything that will cause breach of the law. Nobody should take the laws into his or her hands. We must respect Nigeria, we must respect our country, and we must respect what God has given us. Thank you very much.
All right, I have been speaking with the Pro Tem Secretary General of the Nation Coalition for Peace and Unity, Mr. Cairo Ojougboh, and on the program we've addressed and look at ways Nigeria can have future elections devoid of electoral violence. Once again, thank you very much, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.